In tonight's episode we play
Resident Evil 4.
This is casually hardcore.
Place the game closing. Game news.
And casually hardcore.
Press start.
Hi guys, it's Neil from Casually Hardcore. We've got another retro review here with Resident Evil 4. Obviously we've covered the other Resident Evils in the past, so now we're going to look at Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is a big talking point with the Resident Evil franchise and the Resident Evil fans. Bit of early history on it to get that out of the way. Resident Evil 4 was actually the scrapped version of the first Resident Evil 4. The original Resident Evil 4 was very much like the old games and was very much a claustrophobic event. A very claustrophobic again game, spooky mansion. There was images and videos of Leon running away from like a ghost that was mist and coming after him in this mansion. But as you can see, immediate Resident Evil 4, no static cameras. So I'm moving around. It's a typical third-person game. And you look at the aiming, I've got free aiming. I can aim exactly where I want. This drastically different from the other Resident Evils. Obviously I can shoot and do where I want. Where in the other Resident Evils you were kind of just looking and aiming where the camera allowed you to do. Now again, I've shot this little crow here to show you something that's different in the Resident Evil 4s. So there's a take option for this glowing symbol on the floor. It's a spinel, it's a gem, there's money in the game. There was currency in the game which, when you pass on the various levels and get further into the game, you will meet a character that allows you to upgrade your weapons using this money. Again, drastically different than the other Resident Evils where the gun you got was the gun you had. If you didn't find the Magnum, tough, you've missed the Magnum. You could not go back and buy it like you can in Resident Evil 4. So Resident Evil 4 was essentially the scrapping of another project. Devil May Cry, the fantastic action series, which many of you will know and probably love, is another version of Resident Evil 4's failed development, and the game was turned into what we know as Devil May Cry. Again, you can see the similarities there: spooky mansion, spooky environment, and a hero with a quiff. So Resident Evil 4 is what many consider to be the saviour of Resident Evil. That's a controversy in itself, because some people like the old style, they prefer the old style. They don't like this crazy action style of Resident Evil, which is what Resident Evil 4 was. Resident Evil 5 I thought was a good game. Resident Evil 6 I thought was a terrible game. Resident Evil 4 is brilliant. It is the perfect representation, I think, of this action style that Capcom wanted to go towards. So we've got our first enemy here, which is this villager who is in a zombie-like state, but he's not a zombie itself. Now, we can use the free aiming here. So if I shoot him in the knee, bam. So this is what Resident Evil 4 was about. You had action moves and fighting moves. Shoot them in the head, shoot them in the hand, or shoot them in the knee, and if they're stunned momentarily, you can come up and perform essentially finishing manoeuvres on them and clear out entire groups. So anyone who's played Resident Evil 1, 2 and 3 and was suddenly given this non-claustrophobic, more open setting, free aiming, multiple enemies, multiple hit points and action style, would have been completely overwhelmed by this maybe. But fans loved it. It was originally a GameCube exclusive, which Capcom kind of, I wouldn't say so was an error, but like many games that are exclusives and are hugely successful, they are then ported to other versions. There was a Resident Evil 4 port on the PlayStation 2, and obviously later on the PlayStation 3 and the 360 got it on the arcade and HD versions. And just recently, the PC has had its own HD reboot as well, much to the pleasure of PC fans and owners. If you're a big fan of the Resident Evil franchise and you're a fan of the old style games, it's difficult to kind of say to people, oh, Resident Evil 4 was one of the best Resident Evils. People are not particularly happy about that. I personally think Resident Evil 4 is exceptional. It is an absolute must-play action game, and it's something that you need to play in whatever library you've got. So again, we're going to run around here. I'm going to sort of shoot and try and miss them, try and move them around. Completely different era of Resident Evils. In the other Resident Evils, you'd have a long corridor, you'd have to stand your ground and shoot zombies. Now I can kind of pick my shots, kick them, run around them a bit. Do not think, however, that you can just go blasting. If I just blast randomly at these guys, it's not going to bring you much success in this game. I'm going to run out of ammunition very quickly, but that guy just dropped some ammo for me. A flash grenade. The way to play Resident Evil 4 is again to still conserve your ammo. Shoot them in the head, shoot them in the leg, shoot them in the knees, perform your kung fu action manoeuvres on the enemies that you're faced with. and you'll get on just fine. Also, there was not many puzzles in the games of Resident Evil 4. It was basically just shoot things and maybe push some blocks. You were rarely carrying around items to suddenly put into a mirror or put into a painting or change from different things. You did, however, find treasures. I'll save the wolf. For those of you who have not played Resident Evil 4, save the wolf. Come in handy later on. There were treasures, however. So, for example, you'll find a crown or a goblet. And if you examine the goblet or the crown, you will have information given to you that, oh, there's slots missing, or there's parts that are missing from it. If you are patient and do not sell these, there are parts of the game where you can combine treasures and combine it for bigger money as well. Now we're going to shoot, it's got a Father Ted. So again, what I'm doing is I'm able to shoot the enemy just once, get the option to kick them when they're on the floor. I'm too close, I was hitting them in the arm. And knife them. So the knife is still in the game, and obviously that guy's dead with 2 bullets, a kick, and some knives. If I run up to the next guy and try and shoot him like you would in the last Resident Evil games, I'm not going to be successful. I'm going to be using bullet after bullet. So the game encourages you to group the enemies together and deal with them in these alternate ways. So what we'll do is I'll just show you. Ow! I'll just show you. I'll run through it as fast as possible. I'll show you the first village area, because this again is where the game drastically changed for Resident Evil fans. I'll just run through it very quickly. Also, if I show you the inventory screen. So this is the new inventory screen. No more do you have 6 or 8 slots. You still have slots, so to speak, but it is because you've got an option to move the things around. So obviously each item takes up a certain amount of squares. You can use money to make this chest bigger, its carrying case, and you can move the items around and still combine them as normal. But it also meant that you kind of played a Tetris-esque mini game of trying to fit in weapons and ammo in the best possible places, so it was easy for you to combine them as well. So we're going to quickly run through this next cutscene, and we're going to show you how drastically different Resident Evil 4 was from the rest of the other Resident Evils. Skip through the tutorial there. Thank you very much. And also the game allowed you to reload on the fly, not something you could really do in the Resident Evils. You were going back into the menus and combining. So what we're going to do is get all their attention. Excuse me! Boom! Going to run into this building here. So look, completely more open. You never got this in the original Resident Evil. You never got this door. You never had the option to run into a building or run around the corner. This section itself was exciting enough on its own for a Resident Evil fan. All of a sudden, the guy with a chainsaw, all of a sudden you had multiple people, you had multiple zones, you had massive areas, and you're now suddenly under siege. You're pushing up doors and windows, you're barricading them up. Look, they're going to be smashing doors down. I can run up to this cabinet here. I can interact with it. And all of a sudden you were like, oh my god, what is going on? This is not Resident Evil. This is an action game. Again, some people have never been happy about this. Some people have thought it was absolutely the way to go. In 2014, where there's not so many survival horror games, obviously you can knock the ladder down, get them out there. You can obviously debate this yourself, but what I'm going to do now is just quickly run around, shoot some enemies, and show you just how frantic Resident Evil games, in Resident Evil 4 at least, can be. I'm going to run off this roof now. Oh god. So again, in Resident Evil, if I ran into a corridor and there was a zombie in front of me, a zombie behind me, I'm caught between them. Now, for example, I'm in open ground, there's people coming out of windows, there's people coming throwing axes at me, I need to use a first aid spray. Not doing particularly well here. Quickly splash a grenade. The grenades have a free, I've been running grenades in the first game. See, everyone's stunned, I can run up, I can boot people like I'm Bruce Lee, kicking people left, right and centre. The normal Resident Evil was not like this. You couldn't just kick zombies in the face. That would make the game a lot easier. You kick zombies in the face. All of a sudden, if you were playing the original Resident Evils or maybe played Silent Hill and you were confronted by this, you were like, oh my god, there's a guy with a chainsaw, he's taking multiple bullets to the face, I'm getting axes to the face, I'm blasting things, I'm kicking doors in, I'm locking people out, I can shoot people in the face, and kick them. It was just brilliant. And you know what? The game doesn't stay, unfortunately, for long in this environment. But the effect it had on Resident Evil, the franchise and action franchises, wow, that didn't last long. It was just spectacular. And you know what? If you are a fan of action games, even if you weren't a fan of Resident Evil, this is a game that is absolutely must play. Absolutely must play. And you know what? It was unforgiving as well. Absolutely unforgiving. There's parts of the game where, even though you've got a health bar now, rather than health sections, health didn't matter. Especially to a chainsaw. This has been Neil at Casually Hardcore. Thank you for watching Resident Evil 4. Like and subscribe. Watch out for those chainsaws, guys.
Did you enjoy that video? Then hit that like button. Why not subscribe as well and get the latest videos, news and competitions? Don't forget to check out casuallyhardcore.com, where you can buy hundreds of video game shirts and geek clothing, or make your own shirts with worldwide shipping also available. Until next time, stay casually hardcore.